This looks like a job for Superman.
Hey everybody, Rez the Collector here with another action figure review. As you can see, we've got a Superboy figure, and it is a figure I've been chasing for quite a while. Really needed a Superboy in the classic costume. There was a couple of them that I was taking a look at. There was the Superboy Supergirl 2-pack. There's of course the Mattel 12-pack, or is it a 13-pack? The Legion pack from Mattel, but that thing is god-awful expensive. And then, of course, there's this one, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Superboy from Earth Prime, which is great for me to have because I've got both the Mattel and the DC Direct Earth Prime Superboy once he's got his anti-monitor armor. So we're going to take a look at those figures at the end of this to kind of compare how they look alongside him in the classic costume. Now, just a little bit of history on this character. Earth Prime, back in 1985, when the Crisis on Infinite Earths was happening, was supposed to be our Earth. This was the Earth where comic books actually came out, and you know, everybody was reading Superman comics and Batman and all the others. And actually, this version of Clark Kent was actually reading the Crisis on Infinite Earths comic books. He was, of course, from Krypton, but did not know it. His parents had named him Clark Kent, being well aware of the Superman character, and the Jonathan Kent, his father, or was his name? I'm not sure if his name was actually Jonathan or not. It's been I have all 12 issues of Crisis, of course. I also have his debut issue in Superman. I think it was Action Comics, but I'm not exactly sure. The Crisis on Infinite Earths tie-in, where Superman actually ends up on Earth Prime and runs into this kid. But he's named Clark Kent, and his adopted father even comments, you know, do you really want to name him that because, you know, of Superman? And they end up naming him anyway, and he's actually going to a costume party and decides to dress up as Superboy. And he ends up on the beach at this bonfire costume party type thing. And actually, this is where he first develops his powers. He all of a sudden flies up into the air. And then there's the crossover where he ends up meeting the Earth 1 Superman. And he actually asks him, you know, I've been reading these comics, and oh my god, did your cousin Kara really actually die then? And Superman's like, yes, it actually did happen. She did die. And then he asks him to come back with him to help him. So that's how the Earth Prime Superboy actually gets involved in the whole crisis and ends up fighting in the anti-monitor. Now, of course, then we can jump ahead like 20 years to Infinite Crisis, where he's been in this pocket dimension with the Earth 2 Superman and Earth 2 Lois Lane and Earth 5 Alexander Luthor. Maybe it's Earth 3. I don't think it's Earth 3. I think it's like Earth 5. Maybe it is Earth 3. I don't remember. But he and Alexander Luthor feel that the new Earth that was created after the Crisis was not living up to everything that was lost, and they want to destroy the universe, and blah, 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 and that's where he basically goes evil. But at this point, he's still good. He's still a good-hearted kid, and he's fighting alongside Earth 2 and Earth 1 Supermans. So there's your little history on him. And of course, he does have a classic Superman costume, all the way down to the gold belt buckle. After Crisis, I believe, I can't remember if the Earth 1 Superman still had gold belt buckle at this point. God, it's been so long since I've taken out my comics and actually looked at them. But after this, when John Bryant started the new Superman in 1986, after the Crisis, I believe that's the point where we went from the gold to the standard just yellow belt buckle. But of course, this being pre-Crisis or during Crisis, this figure has the gold buckle. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the packaging really quick. I just got this guy in the mail today. I got a really good deal on him. The Batman from this set, let me show him to you real quick. The Batman from this set, and of course, a different series. Actually, no, these are two actually from the same series. These are both Series 3 figures. And then the third figure I got in this was the Barry Allen Flash with the 2 heads, which sounds weird, but he has 1 head and then you can put an alternate head on him. Now that one is actually in the other room. I actually just threw him up on eBay because I really don't need another Barry Allen Flash or another classic costume Flash. I have 2 representations of that figure. So I'm actually selling that one, seeing if I can get a little bit of my money back. But I actually got a really great deal for these 3 figures. I only paid $30-some for 3 new in-package figures. So that was a really good deal. Even if I only get like 12 to 15 bucks for Barry, you know, that's almost like half my money back. So that'd be really awesome. If he doesn't sell, he doesn't sell. I'll throw him in the old display case with the rest of my in-package stuff and, you know, whatever. But if he does, great. So let me go ahead and move old Bats out of the way here. We'll be doing his review probably later today. If not, definitely tomorrow. And let's just go ahead and get a nice, good look at Clark here in package. Of course, you can see the back here. And one thing I can tell you right away that I noticed, not on this figure, but on the Batman figure, is the differences in the head. He has an actual full blue mask instead of the black on blue, and we'll get into that in his review. Just one of the things I noticed, because there's always changes between the pre-production model, you know, basically their master, the sculpt master, and what actually ends up coming out. And they always do say when you see like things online that I think they even say on the back of the packages that the figures may differ from what's shown. And they definitely do. It happens quite often where there's a slight change in sculpting or painting or what have you. He looks pretty spot on. Of course, this is the paint master we're showing, so the face is much better painted here. I mean, the face on the figure is not bad, but that's got a lot more expression to it than when you turn around and look at the figure. He looks a little more determined on the back than he does in the front. Yeah, I would say the eyebrows are a little bit different, because he looks kind of just determined, and he's got kind of a straight mouth line there. Pretty straight mouth line here too, but the eyebrows are just a little bit different. One's a little bit raised. And I don't know, DC does that a lot, where they have like that one eyebrow just raised up a little bit. But there he is in package. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, because we're already like almost 8 minutes in, and I'm going to get him on a package, and we're going to get a better look at him. So I'll be right back, guys. Alright, I am back, and I've got him on a package. I also took the opportunity to grab some of my other Superboy figures so we can do a comparison here at the end. But before we get to that, let's get a closer look at the new Superboy himself. Like I said, this is the Earth Prime Superboy. Superboy that didn't know he was from Krypton, didn't know that, that the comic books were real and what have you. Now, before we get into anything like Articulation, I do, of course, have some defects and some QC issues, which I can't ever seem to get away from. As you can see here at the hairline, there's some paint mishap. Again, on the back of his head, I went his stand, but hey, we got a stand. You can see, obviously, some paint mishap here on the back of his head. From being in that packaging where they put the cape through the little plastic hole in the packaging, you can see that did some damage to the cape here, and actually tore it there when I was trying to get him out of the package. Well, actually, I'm not sure if that happened when I was trying to get out of the package or not, but that is some damage there. Little bit of paint drip here on the leg. Little bit of overpainting here on the top of the belt. And not that you're going to see it or anything, but some missing paint here on the bottom of the foot. And that's about a little bit of paint mishaps here at the top of the cape as well. And looks like some dings and scrapes in the cape. But that's it for QC. Not, I guess, too bad. He didn't fall apart. So I'll take a figure that does not just fall apart right out of package. For anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, go watch my New 52 Superboy review, and we'll get into. You'll see that more in depth. Alright, so let's take a look at the figure himself. He does have a very nice sculpt. I really like the sculpt of this figure. He looks very young. He looks like he's an innocent. Whoever did the sculpting on this did a very good job. Articulation-wise, he is very limited, but I'm fine with that. He just has a straight peg head. There's no ball joint here, so we're not going to get any up or down motion. Again, he has just straight peg arms, so all we've got is up and down. We have no ball joints. We do have a rotation at the bicep, and of course the bend at the elbow. He also has rotation at the wrist. There is absolutely no waist rotation to speak of. We do just have a standard back and, forward, just forward. Back, because of the way the butt was sculpted, it's not going to go any farther than basically just straight down. So we've got forward, a good measure forward, and it's a straight bend. And I do like that because a lot of the figures we see now, the leg goes forward and then the knee bend is at kind of an awkward angle. I like that he has just a straight down, for the most part, leg bend. And of course, as you can see here, he does have a bend at the knee. And unfortunately, he does have ankle rockers. His are pretty tight. Actually, this one's really tight. I'm not going to mess with that one. This one's a little looser. This one I'm not getting to bend really at all, and I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So he's very limited in the articulation department, which is perfectly fine. I'd rather have a figure that's going to stay together and have limited articulation than a figure that is highly articulated and you can pose really well, that's either going to fall apart or is going to have such loose joints that you're never going to get him to stand. I've kind of come to the decision that when it comes to articulation, if I need a figure or want a figure that is highly articulated, that I want to do some posing for articulated comic book art or some such thing, then I will track down the DC-UC version and I will use that for posing. I'm not going to complain about DC collectibles or DC Direct lack of articulation, because they're meant to be beautiful collectible figures that you put on display and generally in the museum pose. I mean, not that you can't get him into, you know, some decent flight. I do like he's got the one open hand for flight. I mean, so you can get him into, you know, a decent looking little flight pose, but nothing overly articulated. You're not going to get anything really cool out of him, but again, I'm completely fine with that. There are plenty DC-UC Superboys that if I want that, I can go ahead and pick it up. One thing I will say about him is proportion-wise. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give DC a pass on that. You can see how his that loose foot, though, is already getting me where he doesn't want to stand. Stupid ankle rockers. I will give DC a pass on his proportions. His legs are very long compared to his torso. But, yeah, that stupid ankle rocker. Gosh darn it. I'm going to put him back on his stand, because that stupid ankle rocker is already loose enough to keep him from wanting to stand up straight. So let me get him on his stand. Yeah, already, jeez. Alright, there we go. And thankfully, this was then when DC still was cool and gave us nice little stands. As you can see, it's a Crisis on Infinite Earth stand. So he is a little bit disproportionate. Legs are a little bit too long for how short his torso is, but given that he's a teenager, a lot of times teenagers go through weird phases where they are disproportionate. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. Now, just to compare him to some of the other Superboys, this is the immediate successor to the Superboy name. So this is the 1990s Superboy that popped up after the Death of Superman storyline. He is also a DC Direct figure, so I think this is a good one to compare him by, because this is the very next version of Superboy that we got. So height-wise, they're about spot on. Of course, he's got a bigger S that's more up with the era. The next one we're going to take a look at is actually a little bit older version of this Superboy. This is the Infinite Crisis Superboy after he's taken the anti-monitor armor. As you can see, he's just a little taller. He's a decent amount taller, actually, now when you compare him on the base with him. He is taller, but this is supposed to be one that's been in that Paradise dimension for a little while, at least in comic book time. But he's a lot more muscular. He has a lot more power than this version. This younger version here was just coming into his own, just developing his powers. This one is one that has basically all of his powers, and actually he's a pre-Crisis version of Superman, so he has a lot more power than the Earth 1 Superman that he had later fought. He was extremely powerful. This was a power based on a Superman that could juggle planets. So he's very muscular, very well defined, and just a little bit taller. Also, he's paler, and I actually like that because you can kind of think of it in storyline terms, whereas he's been in this like Paradise dimension, like away from the sun or whatever. Pretty pale, but this is one of my favorite Superboy figures. This is one of my favorite figures in general, and definitely one of my favorite Superboys. Now, the next Superboy that we have is the most recent edition, and that, of course, is the new 52 Superboy. This one, the height scale is very much off. This, of course, is under the new branding of DC Collectibles. New 52. This is the new 52 outfit, of course. The problem with this Superboy, though, is he fell apart immediately out of package. So there we have it. I didn't grab the Mattel because I wanted this just to be a straight DC kind of look at it. Of course, I have the Mattel version of this guy, who is nowhere near as cool. But there we have it. This is basically my Superboy collection. With, of course, the latest edition, the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's an awesome addition to my collection. I needed a Superboy of that era in the classic costume. I finally got him, and that makes me extremely happy. He's going to go in the display case with all the other Superman figures, and he's definitely going to get a prominent place on the new acrylic staircase I have in there. So he'll definitely get some prominence in there, and really, really happy to have the figure. If you do not have a Superboy figure, or if you're looking for one in the classic costume, you do have some options. You've got some DC UC. You've got DC Direct. You've got a couple of options there. You've got the Superboy, Supergirl 2-pack. You've got this one. Or if you're looking for a more evil version, you can go with the Infinite Crisis guy, the bad guy. But definitely, any one of these Superboys, even with the broken Superboy New 52, still, I have to have them in the collection. Any of these are great pickups, but for classic, this is the guy that you want. This was a pretty long review for me. They've been getting a little longer, but what are you going to do, you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. This, of course, is Rez the Collector. I want to thank you very much for watching, and you have a nice day.